Join us every week for coaching and Q&A. You'll learn how to get more listings signed and sold following the simple and fun easy listing method. Plus, find hidden gem tips and get motivated as you surround yourself with like-minded peers in this weekly mastermind. Let's jump in.
Hi, Kat, Joy, Erica, Michele, Monica, Marty.
It was flown in.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Congratulations on getting your deal done.
Thank you. Can't wait for the next one.
Anyways, today, Kat, I'm going to make you the actual host because I'm going to bounce out of here pretty quick. So I've got an appointment that I'm going to go to. So you're left in good hands with Greg Bilbro and Kat and Michele and Joy and Jeff and the rest of the team on there. So anyway, so that being said, I'm going to shut up and turn it over to Kat and Greg.
And Kat's on mute.
Oh, so just so you guys know, this is Mastermind Mondays. It's always been an open forum for you guys to come and bring any questions you have, no matter what stage you're at, anything you're going through, you're feeling stuck, you need an accountability push. But we're really focusing in and underscoring how we can help you with your transactions. So whether you're preparing to go meet with the seller or you're preparing to take a listing live, we've really had great brainstorms with everybody participating, whether it was Michelle's listing, Michele's listing, I think a little bit of Mike Nicolai when he was getting his pictures ready, Michael Graham. So when we say pre-flight checklist, that's bring your deal, bring your listing appointment, and let's go through all of the weeds together and set you up for success no matter what you're about to do. So that sets us up. Of course, we always want to start with our wins, right? So who had an open house this weekend or appointments with sellers? Roundtable, Mike Nicolai, can we hear you? I think you might have some news for us.
So I did have an open house this weekend. I received 26 buying units, which was about 50 people total. I've received one pre-qualification so far. I've had phone calls from 3 other agents with the "how do I do this" question. So I've been fielding those yesterday and this morning so far. I've got 2 of them that have said, yes, we're definitely submitting an offer. So the one that we got the pre-qual on was not one of those 2. So now that is equal to 3. I am happy. I am happy. My sellers are happy. My seller is actually a real estate agent. He specializes in rentals. So, he does do some sales and has done flips in his life and, the whole thing there. So he knows what's going on. And he's one of the guys that wants to jump in on the platform after he sees how it works. So, not only am I getting some buyers, but I think I might be adding to the family a little bit. So, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, I'm super proud of you. I saw you promoting your open house on social media and getting some traction going. And it looked like a friend of yours, who obviously I'm assuming isn't in the market to buy, was excited and paying attention to your open house as well. So to me, that's the type of person that will think of you when they are ready to list or have someone that is.
Yeah, my social media has got a whole bunch of folks from back in my high school days when I had a lot more hair and it wasn't white. So yeah, I have asked a lot of my friends to, like my posts, get me some Google juice, as it were, so that, it would be higher in the rankings when people are looking. I've taken all of the marketing classes that I've ever had and tried to pour it into making these look correct and, have enough keywords in there so that when somebody types it in, it pops to the top, the whole thing. Did a walkthrough video, which, that seems to be getting some traction on YouTube. The MLS, and as far as the comps go, it's, about 10% less than the other comps in the area on the low end and about 30% lower on the high end. So it's the lowest price house on the golf course. So
Love that.
real happy with this.
When is your window set to end for your offer event?
Tuesday.
I can pull it up. Tuesday. Okay. So today's Monday. Obviously, you got a pre-qual. Like 44 minutes was the timer when I was joining the call. So about an hour ago, one of your pre-quals came in. Today's the day to, do that round of calls and say, hey, bring this offer in. We've already got one that we're receiving. My seller's going to be looking at it. So let us know what you've got, just to get that energy going before the last minute. So
Absolutely.
really awesome results. And again, you're in an area that's shifting pretty quickly into a buyer's market.
Right.
So very
So
good job.
I did have a couple of questions. Can I field them now, or do you want to field them later?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Some of the questions that I've had are, my buyer does not have enough pre-qual to, go up to, where the seller is going to want to say yes. Is there a function in the platform where they can include
Proof of funds?
no, not a proof of funds, but basically asking the seller to carry a second for 3 to 5 years? So, to increase
The offer detail sheet might be the best solution for that. And again, you guys are all familiar with Robert. He chooses not to use an offer detail sheet because what do you do if you're not using one of those? You are having the conversation. So if you're having a conversation with buyers that might be in that type of situation, I would say a conversation is always going to be more beneficial than having someone spit it out on a detail sheet, because you can probe, you can do a little bit more poking and prodding when you're speaking to the buyer agent or the buyer if they're unrepresented, rather than just looking at one line on a piece of paper.
Right, but how does that work with the platform and as far as the offers go? Because if, say that he wants to offer 425, but he's only got a pre-qual for, 400, and he wants the seller, just round numbers here, the seller to carry 50 grand for, 3 to 5 years, how does the platform adjust for that?
You
So
have
this
to let
is-
that you would have to let me know what this. You and I would have to have that conversation that the seller has agreed to do that, and so I would have to know that there's an exception, and give me some sort of verification that the seller's okay with that.
Okay, so it's gotta go directly to the center of the universe. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and I would say the second part of that, so obviously Michele handles offer capacity, right? What someone is able to place numerically as their offer on the Easy platform. But don't forget, this is another great place to emphasize something that we all take for granted, that the seller can accept, reject, or negotiate any offer at any time, which means, when you're speaking to any seller, even the one that has the strongest offer, just because yours is the strongest doesn't mean that's who my seller is going to want to speak with or choose, right? So remind this type of potential buyer, look, just because you might not be offering that highest dollar amount, stay in communication with me. I'm going to be following up with you to discuss these terms. It's moving parts, right? And then of course, when you have a different offer that your seller's leaning to with the stronger offer, go back and say, hey, we've got stronger terms over here. I mean, what can you do? Is your buyer willing to work with that? And that's just negotiations going back and forth.
Right.
But I think it's always important. We know it's not an auction. We don't say the word auction, but just because we're telling others that it's not an auction doesn't mean that they've gotten it through their skulls that top offer doesn't necessarily win. Right. So that proactivity and just reminding people of that helps. The same thing we take for granted lets them know that same thing. But great question. And clearly you're speaking with the people that came through the open house, which I'm really proud.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of phone calls and everything else over the last, few days. So
Love
the
it.
next question is not one that they ask, but more that I ask. There's a watch list button on the platform. And was that for somebody who has registered, or is that something that I can, plug my username and password from the platform in myself, and I can watch somebody else's off?
That's anyone that has created an account, right? So they have to create a username and password, but it doesn't need to be somebody that has, for example, submitted pre-qualification to watch a property. So
So if I
we'll basically have a username. If someone is just watching something, the bare minimum we would have is a username, but that doesn't mean that they've expressed interest in submitting documentation and actually placing an offer.
so
For
that's
example,
how I
I
would
hit
be
the
able to
watch
watch
button.
somebody else's.
Yeah, I hit the watch buttons to give you guys at least one person already interested in this. So,
Right. Okay, good.
so
I was kind of thinking that same thing too. It would be helpful if, the family here, kind of supported each other and watched their other, like I'd love to watch the other events in my state and some out of this state and all that, just to, again, get more information about what's going on with other deals and to support them and say, hey, you're right. Just like you're doing with the one, let's make more.
I'm telling you, and tomorrow would probably be the day. I think everyone is set for a Tuesday ending this week, right, Michelle?
Pretty much.
Yeah, like, I mean,
It's
was that only a
ending.
week ago that we were watching Vince? That was 1 week ago, right? Last Tuesday? We're
Yes,
watching
that was
Vince.
last
I
week.
mean, it's really, really fun, you guys, to sit and watch the offers come in. The screen refreshes itself. You'll see it like gray out while it's pulling new information in. And you just see another one, another one, another one. And it really is an awesome thing to watch. So there's definitely value in watching the listings of your peers. It's a learning experience. It's really fun. You just get to see it in action. So, but yeah, that watch list feature is just like, if you're shopping on a store and you favorite something and you go to your favorites and you can see everything that you favorited. So you don't need to be the listing agent or a specific buyer for that one piece of property to do so.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much. This is fun.
Yeah, I'm super proud of you guys. Round of applause for Mike, guys. A thumbs
Thank
up.
you.
There we go. Heck
All
yeah,
right.
Michele. Michele, you did some negotiations, right? Last we heard, you had some people to talk to, and now you are under contract, if I'm understanding.
That is correct. So it was a really big learning lesson this first sale because we're in a really deep buyer's market, and I think it's going to get much deeper based off what I saw because we had the people that we wanted to at that open house, but we did use that as a negotiating tool, and we pushed the price above closer to where the seller wanted to be. With all that being said, no, it was good. So we're under contract. We have inspections until Thursday. I believe that should be fine. It's a cash to sale. But because we're in a buyer's market, I'm kind of getting the idea that, yes, we do a 0% commission, but at the end of the day, the buyers are going to offer as much as they're going to offer. They're not going to go over asking just because we do that commission. That was the response I was getting. Because when the buyer's agents came in and I explained to them, like, hey, it's a buyer's premium. We're going to have the final contract price. I'm kind of trying to rearrange my value proposition where we focus more on the fact that we can sell that house quick because, yes, the buyer's premium is included, but it does come out of the price. And buyers, from what I'm seeing, are not willing to go above and beyond
so
just because they're
how much did you for comps? And I know things may have changed over the course of a week, but when you were pricing it and by the time you had your open house, what percentage difference was comp price to where you put the price up on easy? Was it more than 6%?
So I comped it between 330 and 315, and we got that 315 total. The expectation that I set with my sellers, and we did go over this totally fine, was that we would get the 315 plus the buyer's premium. But we got the 315 including the buyer's premium.
What was your starting price on the listing?
265.9.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, that's way less than 6%. You didn't just take your comp price and chop 6% off of it.
Oh yeah, no.
Right? So the language rework here isn't just, hey, here's the structure of this. We're using a buyer premium because it's transparent. We know that that's a benefit. What you're really doing is steeply discounting the property because the market's shifting. We also have this buyer premium structure, which has all these different benefits. You can list off which ones are applicable. But it's not just about that 6% because you started at a steeper discount than that 6%.
That is correct.
But if we're not wording it that way, that steep discount, in addition to encompassing the 6%, here's the comps that we looked at, They're recent comps, they're applicable. We know the market's shifting, so that's why we pulled recent comps. And this is showing that it's about 15% below what it's comped at. Do you think the buyer's agent's going to be able to push back on you about a 6% buyer premium if you're already pointing out that it's a 15% below comp value?
Oh no, that the
So
buyers
that's
with
the
that
way to
low.
rework your wording that way. Get ahead of the 6% buyer premium or whatever buyer premium percentage you're using by highlighting the total discount versus what the data shows, what your comps show about the property value.
Very true.
Other than that, very proud that you got something under contract. I know you did a round of calls last week to get some activity going, so it was really your work that made it happen.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. All through the transparency platform.
Heck yeah. We get a round of applause here for Michele. Thumbs up to whatever you guys choose. Anybody else have listings this weekend, open houses, conversations with sellers that they want to share?
Yeah, I'll go.
All right, good to see you, Ace.
Yep. We've got a house that we're trying to put on the market and stuff. And somebody asked to come in and actually see it. They provided an offer for it before we put it on the market at 400,000. Initially, the psychology that I was telling the seller was like, okay, let's price this at 399, 990 initially, right? Comps in the market in that area there go for about 430, 450, right? And then so after receiving this offer at 400,000, he no longer wanted to put it on the platform, right? And so like initially whenever it was I told him that hey that price point of 399,990, right? Like that was based on data that was whenever we initially had this conversation about a month and a half, 2 months ago, right? Market's gone down tremendously in his neighborhood since then. And then we get this offer at 400,000, right? I wanted to have a conversation with him about reducing it a little bit more, just so that way we can get more people through the front door. After it was that I had that conversation with him, right? He kind of flipped. And I guess I kind of lost his trust in that regard there, right? I kind of don't know how to come back from that.
So are you getting the vibe that his fear is if he doesn't take this 400, it's only going to drop lower and lower and lower?
No, actually, or this is what his expectation is now. He wants me to price it at 465, and he's okay
Make
with
that 400 move up. He thinks that's the way it's going to work.
yeah, yep. And what's it called? I mean, given everything that happened this weekend on a global scale, right? Like it, I don't see that as a viable strategy for selling his house.
Hey, can I jump in on this one, Ace?
Sure
Yeah.
thing.
Hey, Ace, I've had 2 previous listings that I have listened to my sellers and put the prices that they were looking at, and it was not priced correctly. And I got zipped. Nothing happened. Okay. I just ended up with egg on my face. At this point, my wish is that I would have listened to Robert a lot earlier and said, hey, sorry guys, I can't do your deal. If you don't want to do the process, you've got to do it right. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And it's going to be a waste of your time. And it's going to be a waste of my time. I'm putting in $1,000, $1,500, $200, $2,000 into the marketing on this. And if it's not going to work, I don't want to do that. I'm making an investment in you to make sure that this thing can get sold. So anyway, I've fired clients before, and I wish I had done the first 2 that way. I don't know what the situation around your guy, but you got to just stand there and say, hey, you want it to work? This is how it works. There's proof that it works. Look, everything on this website, everything on the platform, there's a whole bunch of people that's made it work. You can too. but you've got to follow the process. That's probably the biggest thing that I've learned over the last 6 months. So anyway,
Like
for
what
what
you
it's
said
worth,
there.
Ace.
No, yeah, I like what you said there. Hey, I'm making an investment in you, which I'm called. I think that is that's a big old exclamation mark, right? With a megaphone, right there.
Do you already have an agency agreement? He signed a listing agreement with you?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming you got like 6 months time minus whatever time has passed.
Yeah. So I mean,
Um,
there's not a. I mean, he doesn't have any holding costs. Essentially, there is a Tesla Powerwall on his home as well too, fully paid off. He doesn't carry a mortgage. Essentially, the only thing that he's taking care of is just taxes and whatever other utilities. He doesn't live in the home, right? He's had to relocate further down south of where we're at right now and stuff in order to get some family members to assist him with taking care of of his wife that is in advanced stage Parkinson's, right? So he is slightly emotional. Slightly is an understatement. Right.
he might not want to deal with another problem right now. So there could be a mental anchor in wanting to wait, or I'll wait until the market says I can get this much. Like maybe he's leaning into that unreliability and shooting for the moon because it's one less thing he wouldn't have to deal with on his plate immediately. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and
Also,
Jeff's
a
right. Yeah, Jeff is also in the chat. You never have to accept an offer, but I'm assuming you probably educated your seller on that already. Like, even if we put it up on the platform, you don't just have to take the offers that come in.
Well, you know what? I should probably, yes, I have educated him on that, but then again, I think I should re re-educate him on that as well too, right? Like, given that if it is that he does want to wait, like I mean, the strategy that it is that he says that he wants to employ and stuff, that's essentially a waiting game, right? And if it is that he doesn't have, if the right offers don't come in to the price points that he doesn't want to accept and stuff, then okay, hey, let's go ahead and try your way then.
So just to throw something in from my wife's area of knowledge, she's a school teacher.
Mm,
And she tells me that to get a fact into the brain of those young skulls of mush, she needs to repeat things 5 to 10 times
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
so that they'll actually hear and understand what you're saying. So, you know, don't think that the first time that you tell somebody something that they're going to not only get it, but understand it. So, anyway, for what that's worth.
No, yeah, you make a very like big point there. Yes, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. I do that quite often.
My advice would be different if you were still in a position to win the listing agreement. You know, it seems like the seller would trust you to take it the traditional way, and piggybacking off Michael Nicolai's reiteration there, if they're not going to follow the processes and take it the traditional way. It seems like it's not entirely clear that this person has abandoned the idea of using the easy listing. It just seems like all of a sudden they get an offer and they're like, well, now they were okay with like the 420, 430 price point before, and then they get this 400 offer and now they want 465.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would do some more like conversations with that seller and find out what exactly is going on. And sorry, go ahead, Michele.
this is a lot, Ace. This is a lot like my family or my in-laws' family. Mom is in assisted living, and now we're trying to sell her home. And she is like, well, we'll do this price point. Well, we didn't sell on the platform, so now we're going to raise the price, and that way we have a price point to negotiate down from. So we had 595 plus plus 7%, so 536 and change. Well, that didn't work, so now we're going to price, or I'm sorry, keep saying 595 plus 7%, so it was 636 and change. That didn't work, so we're going to put it at 650. Yeah, that's right. We're going to do it at 650.
Mm.
I said, everybody said it was too high at 636 and change. That's why nobody made an offer at 636 and change. Yeah, but this way we'll have a place to negotiate down from because your mom's rent has gone up. They're not dealing appropriately. They're not thinking straight. They're thinking about what their financial needs are for their medical care.
Right, right. I think
And
that's
they have those bills in front of them, and they're just looking at that house that's supposed to take care of them for that next phase of life.
mhm.
And all of a sudden, we're in a buyer's market, and they're stuck where they don't want to be. So they have all those emotions that are playing in, and they're not really willing to. They're not able to listen right now. So it's just kind of like waiting, and they're going to lose money. They're going to come down and be less than where they would have just listened to us in the first place. And it's just, I think we're just going to have to, but these people have to wait it out a week or two.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a conversation, but more with empathy. I mean, this is the type of thing you
Yes.
approach with listening ears, with empathy, and more as a guide where you say, look, if this isn't a priority, if it's too much on your plate, totally get it. If getting 465 is a priority, why is there something that happened that made that a change from a few weeks ago when we were looking at 425? You know, the market can be uncertain. So if the market goes up and we're able to get that, what is it that you'd want to be able to accomplish? If the market goes down and we're looking at lower than our comps from a few months ago, then what would that mean for you? I don't know how much of a sphere of influence you have in the professional, the financial planning space, but if you already have someone that works in that space, or you can quickly make a relationship, find someone that's willing to have a free financial planning consultation, someone that would specialize in this type of thing. Because if the root problem is kind of what Michelle's getting at, that our in-laws are going through, you know, this is kind of, our house is our nest egg. And if we get rid of it at the wrong price, I might have to adjust how I'm planning the rest of my life. If you get wind that that might be what's going on, a lot of financial planners will do a free consultation. They'll appreciate you for the referral. And it's no obligation for the seller that you're speaking with, right? But it would get a possible conversation that might be a different skill set off your plate, while still
No, yeah,
giving you
like
the social equity for bridging the gap. But you have to have that conversation first to see, you know, is that the pain point or the concern?
you saying that, so like one of the things that I do is I go from assisted living community to assisted living community, doing lunch and learns, right? One of the things that we do, one of the topics that we do talk about is planning for the future and beyond, right? And how
Yeah.
much these facilities cost, memory care, assisted living, independent living, all those type of things and stuff. And usually, yes, I will have a financial planner on board with that as well too as a vendor. I usually bring up a panel of folks actually. And so whenever you said that there, it got me a little upset. You know what? Like it got me upset because I'm not utilizing the resources that I've already built and stuff.
We all need refreshers and reminders. The things I think are the best ideas, I'll glow when I say them, and then a week ago I forgot about it. So that's why, like, repetition, showing up, having the conversations. Part of the benefit of meetings like this is it reignites the fire. The
Yeah.
fire that was just sitting as embers that we forgot about.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. That's huge right there. Thank you.
Guys, another major benefit, you know, if you're working in the senior living space, you know, the terminology, the senior living sales associates are trying to get heads in beds. These facilities often have wait lists and short timelines. If you don't have the finances to get in, they're going to give your slot away to somebody else and fill that bed. One of the best benefits of the Easy platform is this one and done type of process with the price discovery. This is designed to get your property sold and uncover true market value in a shorter time than the average days on market, which is a huge benefit for anyone trying to time their move. Most people think of a buyer that's also trying to sell their home before they can buy, right? Easy can help you time your sale to afford your next home. But senior living, it's the same thing. They're just not buying another property on the other side. They're moving into an assisted living facility. But that benefit of being able to time the move when you need it and working with an agent that can do that for you instead of, guys, the rule of averages, think of the middle line, your average agent. Think of your average agent and understand that 49% of agents are worse than that agent. It's not very good, right? It's not, but that's the law of averages, right? A lot of agents will just let your property sit there and days on market go by, you wait to see if offers come in. That's really not a good solution for someone that's dealing with a downsizing need, senior living transition, even someone that just needs to move from, you know, a 2-story, multi-story property into a property with a master on the main level, right? There's all these different needs. Someone has surgery, they can't walk upstairs anymore, and suddenly they need to move. You know, the timeline, us being proactive agents, rather than 50% or below that just sit and wait to get the sale to roll in, it's a huge benefit to sellers. And again, beyond just the price.
Amen.
There we go. So, but great question. I think that's really, this is not a go out there and be a salesperson, especially you already have the listing agreement. So I would say the same advice even if you didn't, but just saying you also have that peace of mind there. The seller, you started by saying you feel like you lost trust with this seller. I don't think so. I think they have some uncertainty, and maybe they don't want to share all the details with you, but you could still let them know that you've got options depending on what they need and that you're there to be their guide. So I don't think you should be worried that they lost trust in you. Just have that conversation, let them know that you're still there.
Okay, good deal. Thank you much.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else have anything going on this weekend, or should we move into, does anyone have a property they want? What should we price it? How should we approach a seller about pricing? I see Michael Graham. Do you have any movement? How you were in negotiations too, right?
Yes, I was waiting to see if anybody spoke up, but yeah, no, I could use some help and just kind of update you guys as you know, so you can see where I'm at with a house that was on the market high, didn't get any offers for 40 days, and then we put it on the system like $130,000 below the original asking price. So I've gotten an offer. I've been negotiating that offer. The buyers understand that it's well below market value. So they came in at 650, but they want my seller to pay off the solar completely. And so then it was, well, we're not going to do that. Will you do this? And so it's been a little back and forth. My last counter to them was 660. We'll pay 10,000 of their agents' commissions, and then we're going to contribute 20,000 to buy down the solar. So essentially, you know, countering them at basically 630, and he still has to pay my 2.5% commission plus 1% for the event. And it's netting him around 607, which is doable for him. If these people move forward with it, it's good. If not, I have a cash buyer that wanted to offer 575, which is too low for the seller. So if I can get him up, you know, through commissions and everything to like 635, but I just don't know. So I've got to go back. The one thing I'm having trouble with though is getting somebody to make that first offer on the platform. Like this other buyer was like, we're not going to use a platform. We're just going to write you an offer. And, you know, Robert and I talked about it and he was like, well, just negotiate that out and try to sell the house. And I thought that was good advice. The other thing that comes to mind is like, you brought this up, Michele, that your seller wants to like put the price back up where, you know, it would be fair market value price. And I mean, I respect that. I wouldn't put it at fair market. I would put it 5% below. And I was also thinking, you know, what if you get an appraisal and the appraisal comes in, like in my case at 700, and we say, here's the appraised value at 700, we'll take 675. So these are just kind of thoughts. Or do I leave it on the platform at the low price indefinitely until I sell it? Or am I not creating the right urgency to drive the price up? And now I'm just at this low price for a long time where people are now just coming in at the low price because we can't sell for 575 where we started. We can sell for 625. You know, if they pay their own agent and if they assume the solar. So anyway, I'll shut up now.
I would say, I think, Joy, were you getting ready to say something? I just wanted to ask that when you said you had it listed the traditional way for the 40 days with no offers, just so we know for context, what was the list price
No.
for that?
739.
Sorry.
Sorry about
What was
that.
it?
739.
739.
And I dropped it to 575. So we did shock the system. That worked. And we got showings and I'm in negotiations and I'm talking to people. That's good. We wanted to create a sale quickly versus waiting for a long time. And so I think
So
that
is this cash offer a result of, you've gone back and forth with the seller who wants the solar paid off, and in between that you went back to this potential cash offer and said, hey, we have this other offer in motion? Or how long has it been since you spoke to that potential cash buyer?
2 days. I
Okay.
reached out to him on Saturday and he said, yeah, let's talk a little later. And then I didn't talk to him the rest of Saturday or Sunday. Today's Monday. I just have to confirm with my seller that bottom number. And I just did some quick math. Like I can't take on that buyer and represent both sides for nothing. So I'm thinking I should charge 4% total to the seller plus another point for the event. So that's 5% total. That's 31.5 off of 635. So I think he needs to come in at 635 for him to like net 603 or 605 or something. So that's what I have to do is come back to the cash guy and say, hey, listen, I've got an offer at 650, but since you're cash, my guy will do 635. You want to do that?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, and that would give you some motivation. If you can get him to play ball or at least be considering it, now that's another piece of leverage you have for the primary buyer you're considering.
Right.
So for me, it's not just about getting that other buyer to say he's in the running for the sake of him being in the running. It's also to go back to the other and say, do you want to do this or no?
Yeah.
So I haven't heard back from you.
Once
So
have two players involved. So, but the current offer that's on the table that we're in negotiations with they're looking at the platform and they're not seeing offers on there. So once I get an offer in there, that's what I'm really hoping to do is that the cash offer guy says, yeah, put an offer in. I just don't want it to be at 575. I want it to be at 525 or above because then it's just going to set the stage wrong, right? Like I have to kind of almost manipulate the system to where it's like, it's got to be at a price where if we went through the platform and the buyer premium was paid, that it would be a successful sale for the seller, which would be basically 625. Them assuming the solar and them paying their own agent fee, 625 is the number. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm
well,
trying to
you're a great case study for the value in, buyers really do wonder, oh, they said they have other offers, but do they really? So you're having these conversations with two potential buyers that could work, either one could work out for you, but now they're doubting it. And I do understand that you shocked the system and revived a listing that was active, didn't sell. So a kind of unique scenario, or like Robert always says, it doesn't work like that. But you did get the interest. But think about any time you don't have transparent offers somewhere.
Well, that's just it. I think you're right. I think that the buyer that I'm in counters with is not seeing any other offers on the table. So he doesn't see the value of the property the way he should if there were other offers like transparently there. Like, oh, other people want this. I better take it before somebody else gets it. So I think today my focus is going to be get an offer that's above 625 on the platform, no matter what, even if it's from one of my investor clients or somebody, because, whatever, it's still $50,000 under fair market value or appraised value. The other thing I pitched to the guy that we're in encounters with is, hey, if you want my seller pay off the solar completely, if we get an appraisal and your guys pay appraised value, because it's going to appraise for 700. So it's like you can't have a $50,000 price cut and us pay $50,000 off of the solar. Like pick one or the other kind of thing.
Yeah, that's, to me, that's just bringing negotiations back in your court. Joy, do you have advice on, handling that, push to get someone to submit their offer through the platform?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've done this, but I think you just said it. You were talking about reaching out to some cash offers. I don't know if have you put this particular property on our platform?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this particular property is on our platform and
I mean, have you submitted it for an REI offer?
No.
Okay. You can certainly start there and again, start with some other cash offers. I think that's a great way to even, and we're talking about doing something prior to putting up a property on the market. I think, and that's what I'm going to start doing too, is offer try and get at least 1 or 2 cash offers on my properties that I'm going to be before I even list them on the platform. So I have those as either backup, or I have those as one of the first few offers that can be submitted. So I would encourage everyone, it doesn't hurt anything to obviously submit their property to the platform here, right? Just to put it on, you know, Adam will attest to saying, yes, it's something we are interested in, or no, it's not, or we can do novation for it, or, you know, we can see even if it's a valid offer for anything else. And that gives you a good starting point to kind of gauge what cash offers might look like. And again, reach out to your own sphere if it's not something that, you know, we're able to do. But again, ideally, I think, and maybe that's something we can start to teach on too, is that's a really good starting point. So go ahead.
Is that bad? Am I getting in trouble if I'm like, because I have a lot of contacts. I mean, I could get one of my guys in creative, one of my agents, like somebody to write an offer and start my bidding at somewhere that I would want it to be.
If it's a valid offer, it's a valid offer. That's not bad at all. That's you doing your job as an agent to expose your home to as many people as possible. Absolutely. I would say it's your duty as opposed to, yeah, that's not bad at all. I mean, that's kind of the whole point. Anytime I take a listing, I mean, my job is to sell the house and to obviously meet my client's needs. And,
Right.
you know, you never know what that is. And so my job is to be able to expose it to as many people as possible and get as much information and intel from different avenues as I possibly can to present them every option under the sun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say to build on, I think great advice there from Joy. To build on one other thing there, you know, she said before it goes live on Easy. Remember, Michele can attest to this. You have your countdown timer before your Easy listing goes live. And then you also have your open house date. So there's also that soft spot where the listing could already be on Easy. And before you do showings, before you do an open house, reach out to all your cash offers or your buyers list even and say, hey, this is steeply discounted, get in now. So I think that's super, super advice everybody should heed. Because Vince Urach did that right before he had his open house, because he got 2 before his open house.
And how powerful is that? That you already have an offer walking into the open house and people are saying, hey, well, I'm interested. Okay, well, we already have this offer. So, you know, obviously we'd encourage you to come in stronger.
And these 2 people figured out how to use the platform that's super easy to do, but you're using an excuse here and not wanting to put in an offer for your client. It drives me nuts when buyers agents make the excuse, and you know the buyer agent doesn't want to try a new thing even though they have buyers ready to make an offer.
Yes.
That pisses me off. Because you don't even want to take 2 seconds to create an account and submit an offer faster than it would take you to write a full offer.
Right.
What kind of service is that to your client? But
so he started on the 7th. He started on the 7th and ended on the 18th.
Okay, so his event went live. Okay, because he did a longer listing. So there we go.
Which is one of those options that we have going on right now during this buyer's market, is to go ahead and we don't want to have that start off with that really prolonged period, because buyers will kind of whatever, I'll wait till and I'll wait. But do it for maybe that 5 days and then have that second addendum ready to go to extend it out another week. And just be ready to do it a week at a time so you don't totally lose your buyers.
Yeah, guys, so the new version of the addendum, we put it up this weekend to let you know the major change on it. Pull it up for you guys.
Yes, they share that.
But if your offer event timer ends and you have no offers, your Easy listing will automatically extend. And if you want to withdraw in writing, really call Michele. And we get the
let me know what's
guys.
going on.
It's the same link. So the same page that our buyer addendum has lived on. We keep the URLs the same. We just update the documents within those URLs. That way you never have a broken link leading to something important. Then let me download it so I can actually share my screen a bit easier. Okay, so seller chooses the following option, but here, let's see, if no offers are received, the end date will be extended for an additional week indefinitely until the listing agent requests a final end date. So if you
So
guys are in
only-
a situation where, and this is only if there are no offers, that's the term here. Again, of course, your seller, if they say like, you know what, I want to pull this down, obviously just let us know. We'll pull it down for you guys.
Okay, question then. What if there are 1 or 2 offers, but they're not high enough for the seller? Now what do we do?
Well, the seller still doesn't have to accept any of that. So that would become a conversation of what do you want to do? This is just for us, this is an automatic extension if there are no offers. If there are offers, that's still, you got to do your job as an agent. These are the offers we have. You know, they're not good enough for my seller. Well, let me call them and see if they want to work out terms that would be amenable to my seller. And then as the agent, you'd come back to Easy Platform and say, you know, my seller wants to run this thing again, or we're still in negotiation, so just keep it down. We think we're working on an offer. So we can't automate something that is really, we can't automate your negotiations and guess what your negotiations are going to result in. But this is just for the scenario where no offers come in at all. Just know that it's going to automatically extend for a week.
And I would gauge that with activity. So, I mean, the listing that I just closed a couple of weeks ago, I mean, we had, you know, 50 plus people at the open house, but then after that, I mean, we had like 56 showings. And I mean, we had people showing even after we were under contract, and then we got a backup offer. So, I mean, I didn't extend it at that point because we had already had an offer that we wanted, but I don't know that I wouldn't have now. I mean, just again, because we had still so much activity going on. So again, that's how I would gauge that if I were the agent.
Agreed. And I still think the number one thing, you guys, always remember, if someone doesn't want to play ball and put their offer on the site, remind them that the seller has chosen this option. The seller has chosen the transparency. 9 times out of 10, the people you're speaking with probably bought a house or heard someone go through the struggle of buying a house and not know why they never had their offer considered.
Mm-hmm.
So for a variety of reasons, the seller has chosen to use the transparent offers. You've got to spell it out to them that this is easier to do than writing a full offer. You don't need to write the whole thing out. It gets your buyer in the running. Do you want your buyer to be in the running for this home? It's steeply discounted. Why would you want to miss out on that? If you're thinking about making an offer, you should want to do it the easy way rather than write out a full agreement.
And if they're worried about anonymity, we can take care of that. We can give them an very anonymous name as well.
Yeah, it's just the username. I mean, they could choose that. Their agent can put their name. Remember, the agent can register for them.
Exactly.
So when you guys question, because I'm thinking of doing 2-week offer events now, I think that'll help get, because a lot of our buyers are coming in from Miami. That's where our strongest base is. You would suggest starting it off at that 7-5 day and then extending it, or do the full 14 days on the site?
I would start, especially if you guys are in a buyer's market. I think the feedback from those who are putting listings on the platform, it's starting to, you know, rather than the Thursday to Tuesday window, which is really a 5-day window, and some were starting on Fridays and Saturdays, at least a full week, 2 weekends. And don't forget, this week coming up is 4th of July weekend, holiday weekend, you guys. So don't forget, if you're planning to do something this week, you've got a holiday around the corner. So but I think you might be in one of those markets, especially if you have out-of-towners that might need time to see it. I think there's several reasons why it might be better to have a little bit more time for people to get their offers in. And remember, they don't have to be in the area to give an offer. They can do it online anytime.
Right.
Sure can.
And yeah, guys, always be reassuring. And I think buyer's agents, from the feedback I hear from you guys all around the country, the buyer's agents seem to need a little bit more hand-holding than the buyers themselves. Because the buyer's agents are the ones that are going to be scared to do things the wrong way. They're going to think like, I don't know how to do that, which means I'm going to mess up by doing that new thing. And I don't want to mess up. They're not thinking of it as, hey, this is idiot proof because I'm just getting my buyer in the running and I'm still going to do everything else the normal way. I just don't need to do it until my buyer's offer is at least being seriously considered by the seller.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would say Michael Graham, you're at the point where you have someone writing out a full offer at this point, right? There's nothing, we're not eliminating that, you guys. It's just, you don't need to go through those lengths just to raise your hand. And that should be a huge relief for a buyer's agent that is tired of writing 10 of these things to get none of them accepted. This is a faster process for your buyer to get their offer accepted.
Just put it
So if
in.
you're tired of disappointing them.
Yeah.
So.
And they can always call me or at the 800 number and I will talk to them and help explain what they need to do.
Yeah, it's really a super easy process. I mean, I'm going to get you guys that Vince Urak listing video. I didn't have time because I was redoing, I got stuck doing videos on Thursday when my software was acting up. It wouldn't let me get any work done. So I'm a bit behind, but that Vince Urak bidding, I mean, there's so much value to that video because it was six, seven buyers total, maybe 5 or 6. They had no problem registering. They knew what they wanted to offer. So if you show that to a buyer's agent, this is how easy it is, and they tell you, I don't want to do that, they should know they sound like they don't care about their client. And that's just the way I feel. That's the law of averages. The average agent, 49% are worse than that average agent. They won't put the effort in. They don't want to learn. They don't want to learn how to offer actual value to their clients. They just want to sit and let work walk into their office and they just get a free listing, a free buyer client. And that's really not the type of agent that's going to survive in this market. So don't recruit any of those agents unless they're willing to change their ways, you guys. I'm kidding. I think you guys can probably all tell in your conversations with other agents who you'd like to do repeat business with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, too,
yeah.
if you have 2 or 3 buyers and you're, like Michele was just a little bit short, who's to say you don't write a counter? Like, this is exactly where we're at. I just sent, I'm going to send it out. Whoever responds first to it.
Yeah. And I think sellers appreciate that. Like we, as listing agents, you can only relay things to your sellers. But I mean, I've been in the situation where our agent went in, this is in upstate New York, like Orange County area. I was a kid. My parents really wanted this home because the owners had built it. It was just like a really cool setup. So my parents thought it'd be a great place to raise their kids, and the owners had raised their own kids there. Our agent, our buyer's agent, went in a tornado warning through like a huge storm to go and say like, oh, they came up on their offer and they accepted right there while the door was open. And I really think a part of that was because this man was standing there in the rain with the offer ready to go. So, those are the kind of agents that people are inclined to want to do business with, not the person that doesn't return phone calls or at least say, hey, we received your offer. You never know. If you want to know how valuable Easy Real Estate platform and transparency is to buyers and buyers agents, go on the real estate Reddit and look at all the horror stories from buyers that say, I don't even know if the seller received my offer. I don't know if my agent submitted it. Or an agent, I'm pulling out my hair because I've written 20 of these things and I haven't gotten paid because nobody's accepting. So just an incredible value. And you have to refresh yourself on those anecdotal stories because it gives you something real to explain when you're having these conversations out in the wild, right? What difference does it really make? Well, your buyer doesn't want to get their offer rejected. They want to understand why they're not getting their offer accepted. What better way than to see where their offer stands? So if nobody, I know this is Monday and I know like Tuesdays and Wednesdays are kind of our sweet spot for when people are thinking about going live or they're planning like Thursday, Friday listing appointments with potential sellers. So you guys know the drill with our Facebook group, right? If you guys need any help in the meantime, you can always call one of us. But if you want to brainstorm, ask in the Facebook group because you'll get a lot more feedback if you're going where the whole group is, the watering hole. Any questions? Anyone got anything coming up that they want some advice on before we wrap up today's call?
I do want to say really quick though, I mean, I think like Michele and a number of agents have really done that. they have called me, they have called Robert, they've gone, I mean, they were doing their own like presentations online with each other. Like that's wanting to learn and getting better at your craft. And it's just kind of a hats off to them.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Did you say that we could watch some online bidding tomorrow? Just as watch somebody else's listing?
So what I like to do is, and when I was at the beginning of the call, we were talking about the watch list. I follow the properties because I like to see, like I wake up in the morning and while I'm getting my task list ready, I'm like, let's see if pre-quals came in or if anyone has any offers today or if there's a new listing up there. Because I don't make Michele, hey, Michele, let me know every time something exciting happens. So I go and I check myself. And Tuesday just happens to be the day that most agents are finalizing their offer event window. You'd say a sweet spot is like 7 p.m., Michele, 8 p.m. local time.
Between 6 and 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, so whatever the timer event is, I like to go in right towards the end and start to see if there's any, because you know, people will want to wait till the last minute to get set up, put their offers in, and then they start fighting in those final minutes. So it isn't guaranteed that that's what's going to happen, but when we see the processes done right, and I really think Michael Graham would have had that if it wasn't a listing that had already sat. I think if he came to Easy from the start, we would have been able to get some offers on the platform. But Bob, that just happens to be the typical day that offer events will be ending, and that's where you might be able to catch someone ping-ponging. I do try to post it in our Facebook group when I see an offer event is about to start the bid war. And that's just, you go to Easy platform, you go to the website and you just go to the active listings and you find one that's ending.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody can watch it. Anybody and everybody.
We should start getting on Zoom when offer events are ending and just hanging out on Tuesday nights.
You could.
If that happens, if we get one of those going, I'll create a Zoom link and drop it in the Facebook group tomorrow. We could all sit here and watch it. Because I would have loved to have been on a Zoom instead of recording Vince by myself as his offers came in. I was like sitting here screaming at my screen on the phone with Robert, and we're just yelling. Next time we'll do a Zoom party.
There you go. Good idea.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Any final things here? Awesome. Well, big congratulations, everybody that's out there doing their negotiations, getting attendance at their open house. You know, round of applause for everybody here today. And you guys know we have our Topic Thursday calls, but anything between then and now, make sure you reach out to us. All right, everybody have an awesome
week. And everybody who has their closings tomorrow or endings tomorrow, get those docs going.
There you go. Bye, guys.